Hey everybody, welcome to a live Google Hangout. As of now, I'm just doing this video by myself. Um, Now, I'm pretty sure you're all aware of the Charleston shooting. After the Charleston shooting, the shooting at the predominant black church, there's been suspected burnings of 6 other predominantly black churches. When are Americans going to wake up? When are Americans going to wake up and say this shit has to stop? When are we going to wake up to this fact? Because quite honestly, we, like Jon Stewart said perfectly in the show, we do jack shit. We really do jack shit. Whenever there's a racial issue in this country, whenever there's a domestic terrorist attack, we do shit. We do not do nothing whatsoever. And we don't even make improvements to prevent racial attacks. We don't do anything to prevent domestic terrorist attacks. We didn't even do anything to prevent foreign attacks when 9/11 happened, when the bombing in 93 at the World Trade Center. We do jack shit in this country. We really do. And it's, quite frankly, embarrassing. But the thing with this, though, is the fact that you have the radical right, the radical Republican right, the Tea Partiers, not the real conservatives, but the real crazy Tea Partiers who say, oh, Dylan Roof's attack at the Charleston church was not racially motivated. Really? So having a Rhodesian badge on his sweater and telling the people before he killed them, you rape our women, and something out of that, and you must go. Really? That's not racially motivated? That's not racially motivated? How is that not racially motivated? That's racially motivated. No doubt about it. That's racially motivated. This country, like I said, does jack shit when it comes to certain things. Perfect example. The whole situation in Baltimore could have been prevented if the cops were, trained better. If they were trained to treat everybody equal instead of treating white people special and treating black people like they're automatically criminals. You know what cops do in the South? It's not as much in the North, although there's some cops that do it, but not as much in the North as it is in the South. If in the South, and most likely in Florida half the time, not even joking, if there is a black person riding a Cadillac or a nice car, the mentality in cops' heads is he or she has stolen. So they ticket a black person for driving a Cadillac or a Mercedes or a nice car because they're under the impression that they stole that vehicle. Do they treat white people like that? Hell no. If they see a white person in a Cadillac or a Mercedes and all that, they don't even after them. They let them go by. They just let them go by. That is real racism. Now, for millennials who like to use the word sexist, racist, and all that, you should really know when there is real racism and when there is not racism. Like Jay Leno said on Seth Meyers' show, on the last year of the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, one of the staff, one of the crew members, a young 20-some-odd kid, asked Jay if he wanted lunch, and he asked, where are you guys going? And he said, we're going to get Mexican. He's like, I don't like Mexican. He's like, oh, that's racist. And J-Lo says, well, being anti-guacamole is not racist. You don't even know what real racism is, and that's true. The majority of millennials like to use the word sexist, racist, homophobic without even knowing what those actually mean. But there's a good 5% of millennials my age who really know what real racism is, who understand what real homophobia is, understand what real sexism is. And if you want to understand what real sexism is, there was a perfect episode on the final season of Mad Men where I think it was Peggy and and the redheaded one who said that, who were selling this pantyhose deal to one of the clothing companies, and they were asking them what their legs are like without them. Basically, they're visually undressing them. And that's sexism right there. That's real sexism. It happened in the 60s. It still happens today. And another example of real sexism in this country, Lacey Green points it out perfectly in one of her videos, where she said that girls in schools today, that not where there's schools that have a dress code, but schools where there's a, let me rephrase that, where schools where there aren't uniforms but dress codes. Girls are expected to wear clothing that don't show anything. They're expected to wear shirts that don't make their breasts jump up and down. They're expected to wear skirts that go down to their kneecaps. I mean, they can't even show one bit of skin without being called a slut, without being called a whore, or without even being called questionable with what they wear. But do you see that happen with guys? No. There could be a hole in a polo shirt. That's perfectly fine for guys to wear a hole in a polo shirt, but for a girl to wear a skirt that goes maybe up before the kneecap, that's a problem, because guys are automatically distracted by visually undressing that girl. Really? What worries me at that point, and I have to agree with Lacey Green on this particular issue, is that it's not the students that are distracted, it's the faculty. And that's the scary part. They even do that to like little kids, little girls in elementary school, middle school. I mean, it makes you think, what record do those teachers have? What record do those teachers have? That's what I want to know. What record do they have? And it really worries me. It really does. There is real sexism in this country, and people shouldn't use the word sexist without actually knowing what real sexism is. People shouldn't use the word racism without knowing who a real racist is, and without knowing what real racism is. People shouldn't use the word homophobic without using the word what homophobia means. And I'm pretty sure a lot of millennials know what homophobia means, so we could throw that off the list. But for those of you millennials who do not know what homophobia is, perfect example. Look up Matthew Shepard. Matthew Shepard was an openly gay teen in the 90s, and he was murdered because of it, of being open. And homophobes murdered him. That's what real homophobia is. When you harm somebody or treat somebody differently because they're not straight or they're not, you know. And the reason why it's so hard to talk about the whole Matthew Shepard incident is because it was so, I mean, I was really young when that happened. I think I was still like a toddler when that happened. But the thing is, years later, you look at the news story and it's just heartbreaking. It really is. And it's heartbreaking when you see a gay teen or a bisexual teen, a pansexual teen, or so forth commit suicide because they're bullied. And that's the other thing America does jack shit about. When there's bullying in schools, do you think the schools handle it? No, not one bit. They do not handle it one bit. You know what they do? This is the quick solution. Sit at the lunch table with the bully and work things out. How's that going to solve anything? And the parents partially blame themselves because they didn't know that their child was going through this. But when their parents see that their child is going through a certain problem at the time, I don't know what just happened, but anyway. But when parents see their children go through a difficult time, they blame the schools for doing nothing. And they blame the schools for having the blood of their children on their hands, which I do not disagree with whatsoever. Whatsoever. Now, I know the title of this live chat, and you could chime in if you want. People think that America's problem is Obama. They compare Obama to they compare him to a socialist, a dictator, a Hitler, and all that. You guys are morons who think Obama is Hitler. Obama had never said death to Christians. He never said death to Jews. He never said death to atheists. No. Obama is a smart man who necessarily doesn't do smart things all the time. And like every president fucked up every now and then. But no president fucked up as bad as Bush and Nixon. Nixon fucked up terribly. Bush fucked up terribly. But Obama, you know what? He isn't the best president since JFK, but he is my generation's JFK. And you know what? I have no problem with that. I really don't. I voted for Obama in 2012 because I got to the age of where I realized that I was a Democrat, a liberal Democrat. And I helped Obama with his campaign, and I was happy when we won. Well, when he won the race, it's not that I wanted to be his VP. Not anything like that. But so, yeah. The thing being, though, is that when you have, when you have a presidential candidate who promises something and acts on most of them, but who doesn't act on the other half, sometimes in some situations you have to blame the Congress. And in Obama's case, you do have to blame the Congress, because when Obama got in Congress, the Republicans said, and I quote, "We're going to make him the most failing president of all time," unquote. And they successfully are trying to get that done. But Obama also has to realize that he could use his executive power when in his first term, already a Democrat in Congress. So, but the majority of the time you have Congress to blame, not Obama. The only time you could blame Obama, I think, is with the whole healthcare.gov website. Both Democrats and Republicans thought that was a failure of a website, and it was. It was a failure of a website. It wasn't built properly and all that. And so I think that was his only failure as president. That was his only failure. But since we're on the topic of presidents, the next president, I'm telling you, is Bernie Sanders. Because, and I did this in a video of mine called Feel the Burn on YouTube, 70% of young people my age would vote for a socialist for president. 47%, which is literally almost half the country, would vote for a socialist president. And get this, numbers you wouldn't think would pop up. 29% of Republicans would vote for a socialist president. That says it right there. Bernie Sanders does not only talk, but he acts on his words. You can ask the people of Vermont, and they will tell you he passed promises that he said that he would pass. And that's an incredible thing about Bernie Sanders, is the fact that he just doesn't talk, he acts. Before Bernie Sanders announced his candidacy, I was for Hillary Clinton. I thought that she would make a great female president, and I still think that she would make a great female president, although Hillary Clinton is just like every other politician. She is. And I woke up to that realization when Bernie Sanders entered in the race. Why is Hillary Clinton like any other politician? She knows how to play the game, and not only that, this whole email scandal and all that, now I think that's kind of, I still think that was kind of stupid to be brought against her, but if she has a scandal coming at her such early on before the race even begins, that could be a problem for her if she would get voted president. Now, there's a third guy in the Democrats. I still got to find out who he is and what his policies are. But Bernie Sanders, no doubt, is going to get the nomination. Now, on the Republican side, these Tea Partiers love Trump. But you could ask Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, and so forth. They don't like him. But I could tell you who I definitely think is going to be the face of the nomination. It's not going to be Jeb Bush. He has no chance whatsoever. Literally. Trust me. I know what I'm talking about. He has no chance whatsoever. Rand Paul may have a chance, but he is wishy-washy at this point. Because he had a stance on marijuana, and he said that it should be legal recreationally, like cigarettes. But when Fox News gave him shit for saying that, he's like, oh, no, it should be only legal for medicinal reasons only. So he automatically changed his position on it. Lindsey Graham is a possible nominee. You could put him on the list. Rand Paul is a possible nominee. You could put him on the list. Like I said, he's wishy-washy at this point. Marco Rubio is more likely the chance to be the presidential Republican candidate. If so, we're screwed if he gets into office. We're screwed if any of the Republicans get into office, because we don't need another Republican in office. We know what Bush did. And you have Fox News defending Bush. Oh, he didn't start this trouble. Technically, it's not all his fault. But when you had a president like Clinton, who got the nation debt to zilch, and then you get Bush, who started most of the trouble. Then Obama didn't do so great with the economy, let's be honest. And he got trouble. And Obama and Bush are both to blame with America's bad economy. No doubt about it. But Bush isn't completely to blame, but he is to blame for the Iraq War. He is to blame for the Afghanistan War. He's a war criminal, so is Dick Cheney. But, yeah. So, with that being said, I'm going to close out this live broadcast, and thank you guys for watching.